3, Chris. 3 straight weeks. 3 straight weeks. 3 straight weeks. 3 straight weeks of no Carolina Panthers losses. 2 of those were wins.
Boy.
Let's go.
Boy, like how we're getting
Let's
so
go.
spoiled. It feels like it's, I don't know, end of 2022 again.
Those were good times, Chris.
Oh,
Those
man.
were good times. Well, we're going to evaluate the current head coach. Let's get this sucker started.
Get dialed in, Panthers fans. Here comes an in-depth look at your team. Exclusive interviews, locker room insight. Ready? Let's huddle up.
Let's just do it, okay?
For Panthers Playbook, driven by Carolina Ford Dealers. Here are your hosts, Dennis Cox and Chris Lea.
Welcome back to another episode of Panthers Playbook. That's Chris Lea, Dennis Cox here with you. We're talking Dave Canales. So leave your thoughts in the comment section. Your thoughts on Dave Canales, the head coach, Dave Canales, the play caller. Before we get into that, Chris, Carolina Ford Dealers is our sponsor of Panthers Playbook. With a Ford F-150 on your team, it's game on. See your Carolina Ford dealer today. I'm going to go ahead and say C- right now for Dave Canales as a head coach. C-. Here's where I get to that grade. In terms of building culture, I think he's taking things in the right direction. I really like what, in terms of the culture of this team, where it's going. The fact that Chuba Hubbard gets re-signed and the way Dave Canales talked about him, he's like, this guy epitomizes everything that we are trying to put together here with this franchise. It's like, I love hearing that. I love seeing those guys on the team. It's the play calling that's the big issue for me, Chris. It's too inconsistent, and this is what you run into when you have a first-year head coach trying to figure it out with a second-year play caller who's still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. I'm 100% with you. Our grades are very similar. I was just going to say a flat C.
That's fair.
For him. I felt like the minus is too close to a D, which it feels like, you're headed towards failing. And I don't think he's headed towards failing right now. I honestly believe that for what was available for the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales was the right choice. Ben Johnson said, nope. I'm sure some other guys said, nope, and took other jobs elsewhere. So as for what was available, Dave Canales is the best choice for the Carolina Panthers. I felt like it's the best hire that David Tepper has made because Rule was the wrong choice. Reich was the wrong choice. Reich was a good choice if you let him hire his staff.
Yeah.
But not Reich himself being bad. It was the fact that you had Reich and you made him hire other people that weren't already in alignment with him and what he does. Here. Right. So you're right about the play calling aspect of it. I think the biggest thing is that, and we've noticed this too, even when this team was losing in the thick of all the losses, right? In that locker room, guys weren't really as down as you'd expect. This has always been a team that this year, these guys feel like they're just a few key pieces, returnees, and some tweaks away from being a team that can win some games consistently. They feel that way. And now we're starting to see it as people are getting healthy. DJ Wanham comes back. Now the pass rush is a little bit better. All of a sudden, the Panthers get a win. I think a few weeks ago, that would have been a loss for the Carolina Panthers and probably a blowout loss at that.
Probably.
And so you see things kind of getting better, but, I think it's a C, but, an optimistic C, something that could probably end up like a B minus, probably depending on the way this year ends.
And again, that's what I get to it based on, again, the balance of scale, like where I'm measuring culture and the building of that versus play calling. Because I felt like in the Giants game this past Sunday that the Carolina Panthers had the opportunity to really, something that Dave Canales talks about, finish off the Giants in regulation in the fourth corner and run away with that thing. But it got conservative a little bit. And there are stretches there, even in the second quarter, Chuba Hubbard was running in the first that got away from it. There are plenty of times we've seen this season in the first half, Chuba Hubbard has like 6, 7, 8 carries. It's like, no, that's not enough. Like, you want to be about that run game life, be about that life. And it feels like he gets away from it too quick and also feels like, man, you get way too cute. Sometimes you get way too cute, like on 3rd and 4th down play calls. It's like, no, like you need 2 yards. Give it to the guy that's going to get you 2 yards in Chuba Hubbard.
Sometimes the obvious play is the best play.
Sometimes simple is the best thing. It really is. And that's the kind of thing that really is perplexing. It's like, why are you trying to do like something elaborate and crazy? And like, is it to say like, hey, look how smart I am? Or like, because I can design it, therefore I think it can be great. Like, no, sometimes actually I just got to look and see. I got Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis in the middle of my offensive line. And I got a running back that is top 5, top 6 in the NFL in yards per carry.
Was it the Saints game where it was like 4th and 2, Panthers went for it, and they faked the handoff to Chuba, and they do something else, and they don't. It was against the Broncos, and they don't get it. Like, but you see the replay, and Chuba like would have gone 3 yards untouched
easily. Yeah, that was against the Denver Broncos.
You would have picked it up, right? So you're 100% correct. But also, I would say that these mistakes feel like mistakes from somebody who is learning how to be an effective play caller in the NFL, and somebody who's also learning how to be an effective head coach in the NFL at the same damn time.
It's not easy.
And it's not easy. And so, but it also, I wouldn't say that he's horrible at it, because I feel like we saw worse play calling last year from somebody who's been in the NFL for a very long time.
Yeah.
So, somebody who wouldn't, adjust protection, who put Bryce Young in situations where he was just getting guys teeing off on him, including his current teammate DJ Wanham in that Vikings game last year. So I would say that there have been some good things that Dave Canales has done, and I think mostly he has his team believing in him, and it doesn't feel like the team is out on him as a head coach. I think halfway through the season last year, well, I guess Frank Reich didn't last halfway through the season.
He lasted till about now.
Well, about now. But before then, right, it felt like guys were already out on Reich and the coaching staff as a whole. Like they just weren't here for it, right? At a certain point, it was the same way with Matt Rule. Guys, we don't get that feeling when we're in the locker room with the Carolina Panthers right now. They feel like they will, do anything for their coach, run through that wall for that coach, which I think is a really good sign. We have criticisms, but that doesn't mean that we want him to go away. David Tepper does not need to make any rash decisions when it comes to this. Canales needs 2 years minimum, really 3 years, but 2 years minimum, so that he can also grow and be his best coach that he can be.
So there are plenty of guys who are offensive coordinators who became head coaches and are play callers. But here's the thing with Canales that's different than all those. He just had the 1 year as a play caller down in Tampa.
Yep.
Whereas, for example, like Kyle Shanahan, he was an offensive coordinator in Houston. He was in Atlanta. He was spent time in Washington under his dad. He was in Cleveland. He was around in a whole bunch of different places and had understood, like, all right, if I got 3rd and 2 and I'm on this part of the field, this is the type of play I'm likely going to go with. Like, he's kind of got that figured out and has an idea. Yeah, he'll tweak depending on his personnel, but he knows who he is. He already knows who he is.
Yeah.
Heck, even Shane Steichen, who the Indianapolis Colts head coach, he's trying to figure it out right now in terms of his quarterback situation. They're going back to Anthony Richardson. But even before he became the head coach of the Colts, he was an interim offensive coordinator in 2019 in LA with the Chargers. He was the full-time offensive coordinator in 2020, and he was 2 years offensive coordinator with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had experience before actually becoming a head coach. This is the big issue that I have with Canales right now. It's just he has too much on his plate in my mind. And I think that's a dangerous thing, because sometimes you need the head coach to tell you, like, to give you permission, hey, going forward on 4 downs here.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you're in 4 down territory. So it's like, it's 3rd and 3. Sometimes the head coach will pop in the coordinator's headset and go, you got 2 here. That changes my play calling. Sometimes when you're trying to figure out play calling, you don't even have that time to give yourself that permission. It really is a balanced thing.
Here's something that I want to see. And, we know that Jim Caldwell, who's a former NFL head coach, is on the staff. He's a senior assistant. He reports to Dave Canales. He helps out on all sides of the ball. But I really want to know, if Dave Canales is going to him as a play caller and as a former head coach for mentorship in that realm, right? And not only that, maybe also to have a voice while the game is going on to help call plays.
Mm-hmm.
Because, here's the one thing that I'm a little concerned with when it comes to the Carolina Panthers. You have Dave Canales, who's very young in his job. You have Brad Idzik, who's very young in his job.
Yeah.
Who's the veteran in the room to say, hey, wait a second, we should be doing this, or we should be thinking about this for the future? That is a very young offensive staff, which is good. They're going to grow together, right? But I also would like to have a guy that has done this for 20, 30, 40 years, possibly there, who has a say-so during the game.
Yeah.
I know that, Mr. Caldwell is a really good help during the week, but is he that voice that's able to be there during the game? I don't know. Those are questions that maybe we can find out and we can ask about it at a certain point at a press conference. But, it'll be cool if that there was a little bit more of that just, veteran voice that could be there inside of the game to help him out when it comes to play calling.
I used to coach college lacrosse. Chris, you know this. I coached college women's lacrosse for 9 years. I was an assistant for 2 years before becoming a head coach. And I thought, I was like, hey, you know what? In these late game situations, this is how I'm going to do things, and this is how I'm going to manage practice and do all this. I thought, like, having been an assistant for a couple of years, that I knew what I was going to do. And the moment I became a head coach, it was like, oh, there's so much more I have to worry about than I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And it is on the job learning. And I struggled for a couple of years trying to figure it out. And it took me about my third year as a head coach, not to brag, but I went to a conference championship game. And then I got out of coaching because I was like, I'm kind of just tired of the life of coaching. But it took me a long time to figure it out. And then when I got back into coaching, I went back as an assistant coach. There's so much more that I understood going back into being an assistant. There's so many more things that I saw. I was like, man, I wish I knew that when the first time I became a head coach. I wish I understood that. There's so much more that you think you know before you become a head coach. Doesn't matter what the sport is, and really at any level, until you actually get it. There's so much more that goes on that you can't even think about, because when he was a position coach, you really had to focus on like a few guys. That's it. Okay, then you become a coordinator. You're focusing on just one half of the ball. Now you're focusing on half of the ball as a play caller, but then you have to manage the 53 guys plus practice squad plus your whole staff. You have to manage so much more, and that's a ton on your plate.
You know that a few weeks ago, you remember he said something to the effect of he's so full but so empty at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's something where, it's obviously taken a lot from him. If you look at video and pictures of him from when he started versus now, it's aged him a little bit, man. It's like the president thing, right? Like, you look at somebody who's become president, like Barack Obama. Look at him the year he became president. Look at him 8 years later when he left the office, and how gray he got and how much older he started to look in that short time span. It really does a number on you when you're in those type of executive positions. Here's something else I want the Carolina Panthers to work on, and it goes hand in hand with the run game. And maybe this has helped out with the fact that you're going to have Jonathon Brooks available right now. Right now, their average time of possession is 27 minutes and 28 seconds per game. Their opponent's average time of possession is 32 minutes and 44 seconds per game. I want that to be something that is I want that to be like a priority for the Carolina Panthers, is to possess the ball longer. The two wins, again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but the two wins this past that we just had, especially the Saints win. If you take out the, you can't do this because this is a part of the win, but if you take out the turnovers from the Giants, right, which that's ultimately why the Carolina Panthers ended up winning. If you look, time of possession, yards gained, that type of thing, like, Panthers are getting killed on that.
Yeah.
Right? They're getting killed on that. And I think that right now, when you have a team that doesn't have the best talent, when you're young at a lot of position groups, the best thing that you could do for yourself, and also a weak defense, the best thing you could do for yourself, is just keep the ball, possess the ball, play at some points, play a slower brand of football, run that ball, do some of those screens. Don't screen us to death, right? Don't make it so predictable like it was last year, where guys are almost getting pick sixes at the line of scrimmage. But play a slower brand and try to see if you can get that in this next 7 games. Get that time of possession average up over 30. Yeah. So that way you have the ball longer than the other team. That gives you a better chance of winning. It also keeps your defense fresher, keeps your defense off the field as much as possible. And then also maybe you're also getting teams to do stupider things on their end. Maybe they have to run it less, right? Maybe they have to throw it more. Maybe that gives guys like DJ Wanham and Jadeveon and Clowney easier chances to go after the quarterback and to make to make an impact on the game that way. But that's something I really think the Carolina Panthers needs to work on right now, especially seeing that you don't have the best defense right now and that you do have this young core on offense, so they can get more reps. And you got Jonathon Brooks, who's about to start playing. So, I mean, it's definitely possible for the Carolina Panthers to do that.
Use it. I mean, honestly, Chuba Hubbard, 20 carries, Jonathon Brooks, 10 touches. Like, make it happen. Give those guys 30 touches combined.
I was going to see 15.
Oh, even 15. I want Brooks.
No. I'm saying 20-15.
Oh, 20-15?
Yeah.
Fine by me too. By me too. But that should be like the minimum. But like you said, Chris, it's a really good young core. Mm-hmm. I love the young core that this team has, especially even going into next year when you still have Ike Ekwonu, Damian Lewis, Robert Hunt, Taylor Moton, I think is a question mark just based on his contract. You still don't know who your center is going to be next year. But Jadeveon Sanders, Coker, Legette, Brooks, and Hubbard, questioning who's going to be your quarterback next year. But for the most part, you have really good core pieces on offense that are growing together.
Yep.
And I love the trajectory where these guys are developing right now. Yes, there's a lot of these guys are rookies and really young, but overall, Chris, I love the way this team is going. I love the way they're trending up. You never know. I think, honestly, real quick, realistically, 7 games left. How many do the Panthers win?
Let's go down that schedule.
So you got Chiefs, Philly, Bucks twice. You have Tampa Bay. You have the Cardinals. And you have Atlanta one more time.
In order: Chiefs, Tampa, Philly, Dallas, Arizona, at Tampa, at Atlanta. I was going to put this out there. I've seen people talk about this, but if the Chiefs win on Sunday, they still remain undefeated. Mm-hmm. What if they're just like, man, we're undefeated. We're about to have the Panthers. Oh, this is about to be so easy. And the Panthers play the Atlanta Falcons 2015 role.
Play catch them.
And it's like, you're not looking for, so we might get you. That's a stretch, but I'm just gonna put that down as a loss. But what if? Tampa has been kind of sliding a little bit lately, and I think that the Panthers could possibly catch Tampa. I think that the Philly game is a loss. Philly is rolling, and with the Panthers' run defense and the way Saquon Barkley is running through over and jumping over people, whatever, I just don't see how the Panthers kind of contain him. Mm-hmm. Dallas is, I think, at this point, more than likely a win.
It's gettable for sure.
It's winnable for sure. It's at home. Cooper Rush is probably going to be the quarterback unless he gets hurt and old boy comes in. And so that's a chance. Yeah. Arizona is clicking right now. I don't, that's a toss-up. I don't know whether to believe in Arizona or not. And then I think depending on the situation, I think you lose at Tampa Bay, but depending on the situation, there's a chance that you can steal one from Atlanta. If Atlanta's already, let's say, clinched the playoffs, they're already going to win the division, and they're sitting some guys and all that, you can end the season with the win at Atlanta. Yeah. So I'd say minimum one more win for the rest of the season. That doesn't sound good. Minimum one more win, max about 3.
Okay. I was thinking 2. I think they get one of the Tampa games, and like you mentioned, possibly Atlanta, because like the end of the season, like you said, they might be, hey, we got 3rd seed locked up. Ain't nothing going to change. Let's sit a whole bunch of guys. Carolina can win that game possibly, or the Dallas game, because Dallas is just reeling right now, and they are. But hey, it could be the Jonathon Mingo revenge game for all we know. He might actually catch a touchdown pass for once in his career.
You know, it'd be cool if that's the game where like Jonathan Brooks really goes off, and the Cowboys fans could be like, "See, we told Jerry he should have drafted this guy.
Should have.
Didn't have a running back, didn't have a running game, and all that."
Well, we still have next week's episode, Chris.
We still have next week's
because we have another episode for you next week here on Panthers Playbooks. Again, make sure you subscribe. Again, leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Carolina Ford Dealers, your sponsor of Panthers Playbook. With a Ford F-150 on your team, it's game on. See your Carolina Ford dealer today. Enjoy the off week, folks. You still get to bask on the fact that the Carolina Panthers have won 2 straight games.
Bask in their glory.
We'll see you next week.